Hello everyone. This video series is basically for the ones who have recently started with competitive programming and are looking for better approaches to solve a particular problem, how to reduce the complexity, and all that things that comes into someone's mind while starting competitive programming when their code doesn't matches the time limits, or they get a time limit exceeded error or something like that, and they just want to optimize their code so as to make the code more efficient. So I'll be doing in this series is picking up questions from various coding platforms, and we'll start coding it starting from the brute force method, and slowly we'll try to reduce its complexity, because as you know, brute force will probably give the largest complexity, and after that we'll try to see what else we can do in order to reduce the complexity, and we'll try to solve a single problem using multiple approaches. So the problem that I've taken up in this video is the missing numbers from the lead code. The link for this problem, I'll be sharing it in the description below. You can click onto it to access this problem. So if you must have gone through this problem, you will be knowing that in this problem we'll be provided with an input array, and we need to find the number that is missing. We need to find a number from 0 up till n. That means total n plus 1 elements, but the array is just going to consist of n elements. So we need to find which is that one number that is missing from that array, and we need to return it from a function, because the function has a return type of int. So as you can see, I've just coded a basic brute force method in the right editor, and I'll be explaining the same in my whiteboard what we'll be doing. So first we'll be using the brute force method. Let me just take one basic vector or array to explain you what exactly we'll be doing. So this is our input array that has a size of 4, and obviously the numbers we'll be checking is from 0 up till n. That means we'll be checking from 0 up till 4, and we'll be checking the number that is missing from this. So the main approach behind this is we'll be traversing through the entire set of elements. The first loop is basically for the set of elements, that is n plus 1 elements that we have over here. That is this set of elements n plus 1. So we'll be starting from 0 up till the size, that is n plus 1, total of n plus 1 elements, and for each iteration we will set a flag value to 0, and this flag value will only be altered to 1 if we find that element in the list. That means if that element is found, then we'll not be traversing any forward, and we'll be breaking from the loop, and we'll be continuing. But in case the flag value is not altered, we are going to return that itself as the output. So as you can see, we have started from j equals to 0, and we are just going up till the size that is less than, not less than, equals to, less than the size, and we are going to check the element at index j, that is the first element over here at index 0. We are going to check, is this equals to 0, because we are starting from 0, right? We are starting from this 0, so we are checking, is 1 equals to 0, and we find no. Then we will continue, and we'll go to 2, and we'll go to 4, and finally when we come to 0, the flag value is altered to 1, and we break from the loop, and we come out, and we check whether flag is 0. No, flag is not still 0. Flag was altered in the between, and flag was since 0 was found. So we will move now to the next element, and the next element is going to be 1. Now we will check whether one is there in the loop. That means again we enter the for loop, and we check whether 1 is there. So we check at the first index as usual, num of 0. So we find yes, it is. So we make the flag value 1, and we again break, because we are not going to traverse any further. And then we are going to check, is the flag value 0? No, it was again altered, so we are not going to return anything. Then we are going to check for the next number, that is, we are going to check for the next number, that is in this case 2, and Again, as you can see, 2 will again be found at the second index, so the same thing will happen. Flag value will get altered to 1 and flag will no longer remain 0. And again we'll go to the next number, and the next number of course is going to be 3, and we are going to check through the entire loop. As you can see, it will go up till the size, that means till the last element, but it was unable to find the value of 3, hence this entire operation will not take place and our flag value will still remain 0 as it was above. It will still remain 0. So what we are going to do is we are going to return that I, that means 3 will be returned from this function, and that is how we can find. But as you can see over here, the overall complexity of our problem is somewhat like this. Loop will take n and this loop also will take n, so it is the order of O of n square, and that is of course not optimal. I'll just make a run over here so you can see. Sometimes this code will also, it will definitely be accepted because the code is accurate, but the thing comes when you submit and you check how many submissions have done better than this. uh, as you can see, the code is running. Meanwhile, you can just note down this until my internet is quite slow, I think. So as you can see, the code has been accepted, and now we'll be submitting the code to check whether we get a time limit exceeded error, or you will definitely see, yeah, we got a time limit exceeded error. But again, if you're going to submit it repeatedly, you will probably get answer, but it will be executed probably in 1600 something milliseconds, which is definitely showing that the complexity of your solution is quite large and it is taking a longer time to execute this problem. As you can see over here, it's approximately 1800, and that's quite high number. So we are going to optimize our code and we are going to make it better. So now we are going for the second. What else we can do? As we can see here, there is something going to be n. So what the second approach that would come to our mind is, or to make it more clear, what came to my mind is, why not sort the array first? That means if we are given with this array, right, we are given with, what was the array? Just let me write it over here again so that it will be easy to do that. That is 1 2 4 and 0. Okay, so this is the array that we have been provided with, and what we'll be doing is first we'll be sorting this array. So the sorted array will look something like this. That is, we will have the sorted array get refined to 0 1 2 and 4, right? So this will be a sorted array. So the first thing that you can see over here is I've used an inbuilt sort function to sort the vector that we got, and this will sort the vector to one that I've listed. Right, this is a sorted vector that we'll get. Now we are going to declare a variable I. We are declaring it outside the for loop because we'll be using that only to return at the last, or it's even returning in the middle if it's not found, or else it will return in the last if the last element doesn't belong to the doesn't is not found in the vector. That's how. Let's see, we are going to traverse the entire elements, so this will definitely give us a complexity of n. And if we are going to check if I is not equals to nums of I, that means we are going to check if I is going to start with 0, right? So we are going to check, is 0 equals to 0? Yes, we see that 0 is equals to this, so nothing is going to happen. I is going to get incremented. I will work for 1. Then again 1 will check, is 1 is equals to 1, because nums of 1, the element at index 1 is also 1, right? So it will check, again nothing will happen. Again we'll go for I equals to 2. So again 2 is checked with 2, no. Then again we go for 3. So they'll check, is 3 equals to 4, and we find that no, it's not. And that's the time we return I, that is 3. don't return nums of I, we return I, because that element is not found. And just in case, just think, if we would rather have 3 over here, you would have 3 over here, 3 also would have matched, then we would have gone for 4. But of course 4 is not less than nums dot size, uh, because nums dot size is 4 and 4 is not less than 4. Will come out of this loop. So what will be returned when we come out of this loop? That is I. Hence I will become 4 and come out of the loop, and 4 will be returned. So we are using all the cases over here. Even if the last element is not present in the array, even that will be returned. So what will be the complexity of this problem? This loop, as I mentioned below, will have a complexity of n, and the above sorting algorithm, if the best sorting algorithm is used, still it will have a complexity of O of log n, and n log n and O of n and O of n log n will result in an overall complexity of O of n log n. So this will have slightly better complexity. If you compare the complexity of this and this, you can see that, yeah, this will give us slightly better complexity. So when you saw this was 1800, sorry, I was just submitting the same code again. I'm just going to comment this code, and I'm going to uncomment below code which has the sort function. Submit that. Waiting for the output. Till that, you can just note the code over here, pause the video and note the code, and you can see the runtime is 104 milliseconds. There's a huge difference from 1800 to 104. That means our code now became slightly optimal, and it is faster than 5.37% of the other online submissions. But still, we are not satisfied. We want to make our code even more small. So what could be done? Now we'll be using some approach that came to my mind, that is, why not use a variable to store the sum of all I, that is the range 0. Let me get it this way. From that time, whenever I'm telling I, what I mean by I is nothing but 0 up till n plus 1, right? And what I mean by the elements of the array, that will definitely go only up till n. Indexes will go only from 0 up till n, right? Just don't worry about the index, that will slightly confuse you. So what we are going to do, we are going to first initialize the sum equals to 0. We are going to traverse up till the entire nums dot size, and then we are going to add 0 up till n from this loop itself. And as you can see, after coming from the loop, we are even adding n plus 1, because I will become n plus 1 and come out of loop. That means into the sum, what and all we are adding? We are adding all the elements from 0 up till n plus 1. Now we want to know what is the thing that we are subtracting from the sum. We are subtracting all the elements that's encountered from within the vector. That means we are going to first add all the elements from 0 up till n plus 1. Then we are going to subtract all the elements that were there in the vector. Hence, the number which is returned, that will be remaining in the sum, and that is the one to be returned. Looking into the same example that we had, that was, if I don't remember that, it was 1, 2, 4, 0. So we had 1, 2, 4 and 0. So look clearly at this input. So now a sum would slightly start with, a sum would become 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 0, that is 7. And what will be minus from our this will not be a sum. First we are going to add, right? We are going to add from 0 to n plus 1. So what and all will be added? The things that will be added is 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus up till n plus 1, because up till and we are going to add from here itself. I've told you sum plus equals to I will do the same, and sum plus I equals to 1. I, after coming out of the loop, will even add n plus 1. So that will result into 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 gives us 10. So our sum will be 10. And now we are going to even minus all the vectors. So as soon as all the things are coming, what are the things that will get minus? First 1, then 2, then 4, and then 0. That will give us minus 7. So minus 10 minus 7, that will result into 10 minus 7, which is nothing but 3. Hence the remaining input, the remaining element that remains in sum after adding all the numbers from 0 up till n plus 1 and minus subtracting all the elements of the vector is the element that needs to be returned in this function. And hence you can see over here the complexity of our solution is just going to be n, because there is only one loop and we are just using a variable sum to store the value, as well as to subtract the elements as they appear in the array. So we see that this is quite optimal, and let's now comment the previous output which we had sorted first and run this code that we have in order to see what our complexity would now look like. Meanwhile, as usual, you can just note down this code. If you are working with me, I would recommend you working with me if you have not done so. And you can see the runtime is slightly greater than the previous one. No, it's not slightly greater. I thought it was slightly greater than the previous one, but it's still 60 to the range is from 60 to 80. So you see our code has become quite optimal till now, that we have done a tremendous decrease from starting with 1800 to 1308 to 104 to 60. We have done a tremendous decrease in the runtime of our program by decreasing its complexity to a certain level. And you can see the results are in front of you. Now there is one more approach that is a bonus for you guys, that I have the same thing can be achieved, that is order of n can again be achieved through one more method, that is doing the binary OR method. If you know what the binary OR does is nothing but, if we have 0, the binary representation of 0 would be something like this, and then we are going to binary OR 1 in that, then again binary XOR, sorry, this operator here is nothing but XOR operator. So what binary XOR operator is going to do, for equal digits it's going to return 0, and for unequal digits it's going to return 1. So this will result into 0 0 0 1. That means after XORing 0 and 1, we get 0 0 0 1. And again in future, if 1 is encountered, so if we XOR the same thing 0 0 0 1, if we XOR the same thing, we again get back 0. That means what we can do is we can XOR all the i's from 0 till n plus 1, and then we can XOR the same, we can XOR all the i's with, say, a variable which is initialized to 0. As you can see, the miss variable is being initialized to 0, and we can also XOR the same variable with all the vectors, vector elements. So what will after XORing this, the element that will return, that will be remaining in the miss variable, is exactly the element that has not found its partner in I, and that is to be returned. Just in case, to explain the same thing again, that is what that we had 1 2 3 sorry, what was that? That was 1 2 4 and 0. 1 2 4 and 0. So as you can see, we are traversing through the entire array. Then we are in miss, we are going to XOR miss and num of I. So miss and num of I will give us, after XORing miss is 0 and num of I is 1. So as you can see, this is the thing that will be done, that will be the result in miss. Now that is 1. This is the binary representation, and the integer number equivalent decimal number would be 1. And then we are going to even XOR the I, and the I in this case is 0. So if you are just going to XOR 0 again, you again are going to end up with this only. So not there is nothing else that's happening. Now we'll go for I equals to 1. Then after XORing 1 again to this, that means at first we encountered 1 and we got its partner I equals to 1 in the next thing only, and you see that 0 0 0 1 that was in our miss. Because of this I equals to 1, it again becomes 0 0 0 0. Hence our miss is neutralized back to its value, and after 2 is encountered, it becomes 0 0 no, then miss of I. Because of miss of I, that is miss XOR I, that is 1, the index 1 over here, that happened, and we forgot to do the first thing, that is miss XOR nums of I. Because of that, what will happen, what is nums of I? That is 2. So 0 0 0 0 and 0 0 0 2. 2 representation will be something like this, 1 0. So 0 0 1 0 will be the resultant miss. Now we are going to I equals to 2, and in I equals to 2 we have 4. So we are going to XOR 4 to this. So 0 0 0 1 0 0, and that will result into 0 1 1 0. And I again, so I is right now I is holding a value of 2. So I after doing that, we will get 0 0 1 1 0 and 0 0 1 0. That will result in 0 1 0 0. Lastly, we will come to the last element. Now I value becomes 0 1 2 and 3. So I has a value of 3 right now, and the element at index 0 index 3 is 0. So first anything you can XOR I first, or you can XOR the nums I. It's up to you. So let's XOR nums of I first. So what, after XORing 0 again to this, will result into nothing but again the same. Let me just erase this because I'm short of space. After XORing the same 0, you will be left out with the same 4, because nothing different was XORed. 0 whenever you XOR 0 with any number, you will get the same thing. And lastly, when you XOR 3, that is I value, because of this statement, you will get 0 0 what is a binary representation of 3 0 0 1 1. You will end up with 0 1 1 1. And once you come out of this loop, you're also going to XOR it with nums.size, because as you, if you must have noticed over here, we are only going up till n, and we are not going up till n plus 1. Hence, to compensate that, we have even taken into consideration nums.size, just like the way we added plus equals to I in the previous solution, in the last, to add the n plus 1 value. The same thing we are doing over here. So after doing that, what is nums I? So nums I is 4. So 0 1 sorry, nums I, no, nums dot size is 4. The total size of our vector is 4. So after XORing that, 0 and 0 will give us 0, 1 and 1 will give us 0. 1 and 0 unidentical are always going to return 1 as the output. So we got 0 0 1 1, which is nothing but the binary representation of 3. So this is the 3 that is going to be returned. That's exactly what we wanted. And to just show you quickly what that will return, that is also almost going to return the answer with almost the same complexity, because you must have noticed even that has a complexity of the same n. Meanwhile, the code is submitting. You can just go through this code, and if you're coding along, you can just copy it in your editor. And going back, you saw that this code edited and got run in 56 milliseconds. which is quite optimal. So and as you can see over here, 35.14, it is just faster than 35.14%. It also depends upon the speed. Right now currently the speed of my internet connection is quite slow, so and that's the reason it's not getting run fast. So probably there was there when I had run the same solution before, it was faster than 89% of the test case, submissions that people had done. So this was all about how a same problem could be solved in multiple approaches, starting with the brute force and then slowly decreasing the complexity. And as you can see over here, we started with O of order of n square, that is this, then we came to order of n log n, then we came to order of n, and there was one more bonus of the same thing with in a different approach of XORing its binary values, binary digits, and that also had a complexity of order of n itself. So this was all with this video. Even if you have even a better approach than this, then definitely let me know that in the comment section below. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comment section, ask the same in the comment section below again. And if you like the video, please hit the like button, do subscribe to my channel, also share it with your friends who have just started doing the competitive programming and are looking for ways to optimize their code. I hope it helped you, and yeah, that was all with this video. I will meet you in the next video. Thank you.